post. Na-appreciate ko yung introduction niyo sa akin. Also, greetings everyone! I am so happy to be with you today. I am so glad to share with you all my learnings in traditional art. Now, let me start by sharing the definition of traditional art. Traditional art is made using more physical conventional media such as pencils, charcoal, oil paints, clay, and such. This form of art has been in use for many centuries before the creation of digital media and is still widely popular up to this day. What distinguishes classic art from digital art forms is the physical presence. What are traditional art mediums? So the following here is the traditional art mediums. Lahat ng bagay sa ating buhay ay mayroong simula. Ang kadalasang simula sa paggawa ng traditional artwork ay pagguhit ng sketch gamit ng ating mga lapis. Maaaring kayo ay nakagamit na ng lapis, ngunit alam nyo ba na may iba't ibang paraan ng paghawak nito para sa mas epektibong pagdodrawing? Halika, atin natin itong alamin. Pencil grip types. So the first type of pencil grip I'm going to share with you is the tripod. Tripod is what we call the writing method. This is used when writing with a pen. It is for tubular media such as pen and markers. This is for detailing small sections of a big drawing. Appropriately used when working in a small sketchbook such as A4 or smaller. This is how you would do a tripod grip. As you can see in the image, the 12th finger is at the side, the thumb is right at the pad, the pointing finger is right at the tip, and all the fingers are slightly bent. This grip is more comfortable for using the tip of the pencil, not practical to use at the side. It's also comfortable to control with your fingers to draw very small precise line. So it's good for small strokes and thin lines that are uniform in weight. As you can see here, this is the tripod grip subtypes. There's dynamic tripod, the lateral tripod, dynamic quadrupod, and the lateral quadrupod. The most efficient and common way to hold a pencil is the dynamic tripod grasp, but that's no assurance for good handwriting. Change your way of gripping. From tripod grip, you can move on to the overhand grip. Overhand is for bulkier media. This increases the versatility and range of marks you can make. You can get thick, soft lines, thin lines, and a transition between the two. How to do the overhand grip? Place your pencil down on a flat surface. Now, with the thumb and all of the 4 fingers, pick up the pencil. All fingers should grip the outer side of the barrel while the thumb grips the opposing side, retaining a light grip at all times. If drawing on a horizontal surface like a tabletop, simply bend the wrist forward a bit. If drawing on a vertical surface such as a pad resting on your knees or an easel, you can flip your wrist upside down to use the tip. Kung gusto nyo subukin ang inyong mga natutunan, gawin lamang ang mga at-home exercises na nasa screen. For tripod exercise, use the tripod grip. Create a perfect circle without lifting your pencil. It must have a perfect line and will not having a dot indicating that you stopped the line. For the overhand grip, create various lines that are different from each other. Make sure that you control the pressure while using the grip. Remember, a better grasp of your pencil will literally lead to a better grasp of drawing because once you gain greater certainty and control over any given drawing medium, the confidence to explore what can be done with it becomes more accessible. If you're starting out with traditional art, then the following tips will be truly helpful for your flourishing journey. Number 1. Know your pencils. Having the right pencil is important. The hardness of the graphite is indicated on the side pencil. B pencils are softer, H are harder, and HB sits in the middle. There's a big difference between a 4H and a 4B. Number 2. Take control of your pencil. Position of your grip dictates the mark sweep. If you position your hand closer to the end of the pencil, you have more control and precision, but heavier strokes. Gripping further up the pencil will give you less control and precision, but lighter strokes. Number 3, try different mark making methods. So, like here, we have hatching, which is just in one direction, cross hatching using two directional lines, stippling, it's like little dots. And for scribbling, this is what you do at the back of your notebook. You just scribble inside and fill in the circle. Small circles is just as it sounds. And finger blend, the shading is done by smudging with your finger. You should experiment with ways to create the form. Figure out which one works best for your style. You can play around with the thickness of the outline and the way you do the shading. Number 4, vary your lines. Create points of interest with width and darkness. Lines are not all equal. Control the kind of marking you put down. Try using all kinds of pencils and shifting angles every now and then. Number 5, avoid smudging. Use an extra piece of paper underneath your hand. This will minimize the amount of hand smudging on your paper lines. If you're right-handed, start shading from left to right. If you're left-handed, start shading from right to left. Control your edges. Be aware of the way your edges look. Von Ruden explained that there are 4 types of edges: thin, hard, lost, and undefined. A thin and hard edges give objects solid borders. Lost edges occur when the object and background values starts to blend together, so the edge is implied rather than defined. Undefined edges need to be deciphered by the viewers themselves. Exploring all 4 types and combining them creates interest within your work. Number 7, use blending stick for subtle smudges. You can make your shading less sketchy and more subtle. Use spare paper to doodle a big swatch of soft graphite or charcoal pencil. Then use a large blending stick to pick up the soft dust to use for your image. Number 8, apply the 7-30 rule. Less can be more. This helps create a nice composition. The 30% of your sketch is filled with the main focus and detail, and the remaining 70% is just filler. Number 9, make it almost symmetrical. Difference prevent mundane. Add some subtle changes and only keep the general lines symmetrical instead of mirroring every small part. Keeping some elements asymmetrical helps to avoid boring repetition. Number 10, differentiate the textures. Consider the object's texture. A reflecting and smooth texture such as chrome usually has higher contrast and prominent highlights, while an absorbing and rough texture like cotton has low contrast and little to no highlight present. If you're an advanced artist, then the following tips will help you take your artworks up to the next level. So, coming in at the first of our advanced tips, let's learn realism and then stylized. Understanding the process behind realistic recreation leads to personal style. It's vital to focus on creating realistic sketches first, considering elements such as lighting, values, proportions, and anatomy before trying something more stylized. Number 12, making readable silhouette. Fill your character with solid color and see if it is still recognizable. The purpose of finding a strong and interesting silhouette is to create an easily recognizable character that will remain clear in the visual memory of the viewer. Coming at number 13, add contrast. Contrast demands attention. Contrast helps direct the viewer's eye. When people talk about contrast, they're usually referring to a difference in value where light and dark areas are juxtaposed. However, you can also create contrast in hue, saturation, shape, texture, edges, proportion, and so on. Number 14, opt for low-key contrast. Softer contrast pieces enables the eyes to wander. Don't be tempted to create high contrast everywhere in your drawing. Subtle shading can be just as effective when it comes to showcasing form and detail. Number 15. Flip your artwork. Flipping the image helps easier detection of problem. Use a tracing paper so you can flip it over to see how your drawing looks from the reverse angle. Alternatively, take a picture of your work and then flip it. This can help reveal errors in proportion. Number 16. Make gradients work. Well-placed gradients influence the overall look. Smaller gradients can add a pop of detail and contrast. If you feel your piece is looking flat or has lost focus, try adding a subtle gradient. Number 17. Explore abstract backgrounds. Combine different types of abstract strokes. The use of irregular lines when shading adds a lot of dynamism to your sketch. This technique leads to a fresh and unique artwork. Number 18. Add imperfections. Object to be distinctive and not recognizable. Quirks and imperfections add character to your sketch and can suggest a story for the viewer to mentally explore. Have some fun pushing it into something fantastical. Number 19. Rejoice in details. Great art is nurtured and not manufactured. The additional time and care put into adding elements that may go unnoticed are like treats for viewers who take the time to look for them. Number 20. Trust your intuitions. Don't worry about the reactions of the viewers. Just be authentic with yourself. Creating art takes courage. To fully express who you are, what you're interested in, how you're feeling, and what you stand for can be daunting. Still, when you're in your creative zone, trust your gut feelings and be expressive with your work. So the following is a traditional art SWOT analysis. For its strengths, it produces one-of-a-kind artwork. Why? Since your creation is physically created, even if you're the artist, you cannot recreate it yourself. Next is you get the full tactile experience in creating it. You could experience how the sound of your brushwork, the look of it, the texture, the feeling of just being in a workspace and tuning into your artwork and creating it. That's a special kind of experience that cannot just be recreated. And lastly, it creates a physical connection with the medium. Next, the weaknesses. Errors are permanent and physically cannot be undone completely. This requires problem solving. That's why you must know how to handle mistakes. You could either embrace it or make another layer to cover it. There's no undo button in traditional art after all. So you have to do problem solving in order to make a mistake, not just a mistake but an intentional one. Next one is commitment to this can be costly considering the materials needed. Traditional artwork can be very expensive, and if you really want to commit to it, you need to prepare for the materials and tools in order to create your artwork. Each artwork worth a high amount of value. You see, since each artwork is irreplaceable and one of a kind, viewers tend to place high value over it. That's why you can sell it for hundreds and thousands of bucks. Next, the process can become part of the appeal of the traditional artwork. How you make it makes it special and one of a kind. For the threats, there is digital art. There has been a debate that digital art could easily replace traditional art in the future. But personally, I do not believe this fact. I believe that traditional art and digital art will just coexist. Just like how it is today. It will not be completely disappear. It's just that it's in a competition with digital art. With that concludes my presentation. As a last note, gusto ko lang sabihin na knowing the tips and tricks in traditional art is not the hard and fast rule. Hindi ito yung instant hack na gagawin kang god-tier artist who can generate a masterpiece after masterpiece. Oh, no. These are just guides to help you out in your artistic progress. The most vital thing that you need in improving yourself as an artist is experience. Practice, practice, practice. And you will witness firsthand the development of your personal style and techniques. Who knows, maybe traditional art na ang best medium in which you are best expressing yourself at. Anyway, thank you so much everyone. Again, I am Divine Girl C. Dugan. It was a pleasure to be with you today.